What's the craziest story you've heard of a couple breaking up? U/McQuailin responded. The pretty girl in my class got married and had a kid with a decent guy. She was cheating on him with another local dude. Married dude found out and went to confront the other guy. Other guy shot at him, hit him in the back. Married guy escapes but dies on the side of a road from gunshot. Shooter claimed self-defense and got off. Victim's family told wife and dude to get out of town or they would get wasted. She took the kid and left town with the guy. Feel bad for the kid living with their dad's killer. Far as I know, the wife has never returned. Edit. This happened around 2010 to 2011, Mississippi. U/Great Fuel de Flower responded. I don't know if they broke up, but this was how someone found out her pilot husband was cheating on her. When a family in Canada adds a child, they receive a monthly tax benefit. It's a monthly payment dependent on your income, but for a while there was one that wasn't income tested. It was universal. Mrs. Pilot got a higher than normal check, so she called our revenue agency to check, the CRA. They said it was for baby girl. Pilot, born, date. What happened was her husband had a kid with someone else. Other woman gives the baby pilot's last name and lists him as the father, and the payment accidentally gets added to the wrong file. U/Casa 69420 responded. Couple had been dating since middle school. Stereotypical teen sweethearts, everyone thought they'd get married. One day she isn't at school and he isn't doing great. She tried to kill herself the night before and he wouldn't say anything about it. It was odd since she had no history of depression and was an all-around happy person. She finally starts talking to people and what happened gets out. Her boyfriend had been fucking her mom from the beginning. The whole relationship destroyed her parents' marriage. Dude ended up having to go to a different school over the drama and hate he got. U/86753099 responded. Friend was an underwater welder. Terrible job but pays well. They won't let you work after a certain age though, 40. Friend and partner had bought an amazing house in the Philippines near where he worked, and every dollar was now going into his retirement savings because the career was so time limited. Work was a couple weeks out at sea, then a couple weeks back and so on. One day he gets home from a shift, discovers his partner has sold the house and put all the proceeds as well as all the contents of his savings into her parents' name and then bugged out. Yes, she had been cheating on him. My friend tried, but couldn't get any substantial money back, due to everything having been in both their names, and nothing obvious in the ex-partner's accounts anyway. The in-laws were somehow untouchable. So he was close to retiring and living the sweet life in comfort in a glorious home he owned outright, to being nearly washed out of his career and also totally penniless. He moved back to Canada and lived in a crowded shared house with a bunch of 20-somethings and started from scratch as a construction worker at 40. U/Tiny Little Panda responded. My dad told me this hair-breaking story. Back in the early 70s, women in my country were not allowed to have or manage their own bank accounts. This lady, a stay-at-home mother of 5, would often come to the bank where my dad worked. She came from a pretty wealthy family, so she had savings, but as she married, her entire wealth passed to her husband. She comes that day and asks for some cash, as she would usually do. My dad checks, double checks, triple checks. The bank account is empty. He goes to his colleagues, and one of them tells that poor woman's husband had come earlier in the day and emptied the account. The lady turns white as paper. My dad thought she was going to faint and storms out of the bank. She came back a few days later absolutely devastated. Hubby had abandoned them. Her and the 5 children. Not only was he gone, but fully disappeared, like she could not trace him. After a few years, I think she discovered he had gone to South America, and she and the kids were left to starve. My dad tried everything in his small bank executant power to help her get her money back, but hubby had every right to do what he did. That poor lady turned from being one of the wealthiest clients to the brink of homelessness in a day. She had to return to her parents with the 5 kids, suffer the guilt and the shame and so on. Thankfully for her, she found love again a few years later and got in a better situation. But as my dad said, one never understood how a man could be so cruel. U/Esoteric Formula responded. Dude was 22, girl was 19. Guy lived in Seattle, girl lived in Mississippi. They met online and fell in love. Guy would fly down every month or 2 to take her out and spend time with her and her family. He would bring her family gifts every visit. Her family is absolutely adored Guy, hoping he'd marry their daughter. One of the cutest and most perfect couples ever. Just a romance out of a Disney movie. Almost 2 years later, Guy decides it's time. Packs his bags and drives across the country to move closer to her. They were both super excited. She was his whole world and his future. Less than a week after moving, girl cheated on and left guy for someone with a perm and Harry Potter glasses. Guy drowned himself in alcohol and ended up taking his own life a few months later. He was my best friend. He didn't deserve that. Just a wild situation to break up in. Edit. Wow, that's a lot of upvotes. Thank you for your kind words, everyone. I'm sure if he knew people heard his story and had these things to say, he'd be really happy. You/Lightning Beauty responded. When I was in my early 20s, a friend of mine had a girlfriend who was bipolar but took medication to control it. One day they decide to take mushrooms and go to the art museum and enjoy the high. Well, little did he know she stopped taking her meds. High is dying down, so they get in the car to leave. She's driving and starts asking if he loves her and how much and would he die for her. Starts speeding. They get up to about 60 miles per hour and smash into the back of a car stopped at a red light, which pushes that car into traffic, and the driver is killed instantly. Both my friend and his girlfriend were injured but okay, and the entire time they were pulling her from the car and hauling her away, she was trying to take her clothes off and grab him to have sex. She was taken away to a mental health facility, and he somehow came to my birthday party a few days later and told me this whole story when I asked where his girlfriend was. Needless to say, they broke up. I have no idea what happened to her, but I'm sure she was charged with manslaughter. You/JamesJakes000 responded. Idiot X is seeing two girls, A and B, simultaneously. He married girl A, while still seeing girl B, who knows X is actually marrying girl A. Marriage lasted 1.5 years, ends because girl A found out about girl B. X divorces girl A and marries girl B. Another 1.5 years passes. X cheats on current wife, girl B, with former wife, girl A. They go to an hotel on a weekend, leave the hotel and get hit by a truck right outside of it. Girl A and X end up in the hospital in bad, but not life-threatening condition. A friend of X is contacted by the hospital because the nurse on shift knew them both. He is told X and his wife were in an accident. Nurse missed the former part. Friend of X calls current wife's mom to tell her her daughter was in an accident with his husband. Daughter, girl B, is right there with her mom. Hilarity does not ensues, second divorce. Idiot X remains an idiot to this very day. You/what a good girl 8 responded. Knew a girl in 5th grade and was in the middle school band with her. Likewise, when we moved to high school, we were in high school marching band together. Our middle school band teacher and our high school band teacher are a married couple in their 30s, no kids. Junior year of high school, the rumored rampant affair between the high school, male, band teacher and my junior in high school classmate had been found out by school police, the whole town to be factual. The police came and removed the small couch out of the band director's office during school hours. He vanished and so did my classmate. The poor guy's wife, our middle school band teacher, stays with him in spite of it, and the very next year falls seriously ill with aggressive cancer that ended her life very soon after diagnosis. Then, the ex-band director and the classmate of mine are officially a couple. They married when she was still 17 with her parents' consent. They've been married all this time, we are now mid-30s, so significantly longer than first marriage, and have had 2 children together. Absolutely the most insane saga. You/Anonymity69 responded. High school sweethearts. He was her first love. Married, had 3 kids. He has a well-paying job high up in tech for the government, but it requires him to travel. She's a stay-at-home mom. Married for a long time, if I had to guess LD say probably over 15 years. Over the years, he comes back from traveling for work less and less. Seems distant, even with the kids. She's suspicious. Googles his name, a photo comes up of him at a father-daughter dance, with a little girl who is not theirs. She comes to find out that he had a whole other life, a girlfriend, a child, a house, etc., in the city he had to travel to for work. The other woman knew about them, apparently didn't care. She takes him to court in the divorce, trying to get alimony and child support. Borrows tens of thousands from her family members to help pay lawyer fees. This divorce process lasted years with all the appeals. In the end, very little alimony is awarded, and child support for the one kid who is turning 18 in a year or two, other 2 children over 18. Turns out he had friends in high places, including in the courts, and had a lot of money to pay for the best, most despicable divorce lawyers. Even after the grueling proceedings are over, he simply refuses to pay alimony or child support. She doesn't have the money to take him to court again. Takes a lot of money out of the 401k account she got from him to get by while she tries to find a job as an unskilled worker who hasn't been in the workforce in 15+ years. The 2 younger kids refuse to speak with their father unless they need money, which he usually doesn't provide regardless. They hate him. The oldest has a decent relationship with him. He was around more during her childhood than theirs. You/nonsensical wizard 999 responded. My ex, who I lived with for something like 7 years, had encouraged me to stop drinking, and so I had. On my birthday, she brought home a bottle of red wine, a bottle of white wine, and some food for me to cook. Instead of cooking, we drank both those bottles of wine and went out on the town. We went to a bar on a pier and got pretty drunk, then went to a karaoke bar and drank a little more. After that, I wanted to go play pinball, but she was done for the night. We got into a huge argument and both stormed off in different directions to walk home. I got home first. I was upset and drunk, so I locked the door so she wouldn't be able to come inside. This was fucking stupid and I can't defend it. It was a huge mistake. She banged on the door for a while and I eventually let her inside. She then called the cops and told them I had abused her. I hadn't touched her. So, the cops came and took me to jail for domestic violence on my birthday. It was my first trip to jail, and it was Long Beach, Compton County. On the way to jail, the cop said this happens all the time and he was sure she'd call and clear things up when she sobered up and LDB out. Instead, I spent 2 weeks in jail while she got on a plane and went to my fucking birthday party where she said I had to stay home for work. She gathered gifts that were for me and even blew out my birthday candles. I never got the gifts. All while I was in jail. There's more to the story, but long story short is that they let me out of jail and never pressed any charges, because nothing happened. And that's how that relationship ended. You/Snake Pliskin LA responded. A coworker told me the story of a married couple who managed 2 regional offices of our consulting firm in the same major US city that had their marriage dissolve during the merger of our company with our competitor. During their absolutely bitter divorce, the combined company began consolidating the 2 offices and the battle lines between the spouses were drawn. Staff were being fired if they took direction from the wrong spouse. There were bitter shouting matches in the office nearly every day. And when one spouse was selected to head up the consolidated operation over the other, it triggered a lawsuit by the jilted spouse citing hostile work environment, etc. 4 or 5 folks were fired for backing the wrong spouse and more quit because the environment was so toxic. Our company now has a strict policy that spouses cannot work within the same company division. You/Lividimp responded. A friend of mine and his girlfriend get a 2-bedroom apartment with a mutual friend. My friend and his girlfriend take one room, and the other girl takes the other one. Over time the other girl finds a boyfriend who moves in, so it is 2 couples sharing a 2-bedroom apartment. Time goes on and both couples start secretly cheating with the others. Eventually all 4 of them realize they've been fucking the other one's SO. So, yep, you guess it, they swapped partners and continued living together. When I would go over there I'd taunt them with a Jerry. Both swapped. Couples eventually got married, had kids, then divorced years later. When I explain this to people I usually have to write a diagram for it. You/Tech101 responded. Happened to my cousin. She met a guy online, dating then eventually married, together about 10 to 15 years. She already had 2 sons from a previous marriage, and eventually she had 1 daughter with him. Things are always kinda of rocky with them but life keeps moving until she starts doing very well in life. She gets her master's degree and get a nice promotion to assistant director at her job. He doesn't like this. He's just a barber, feels intimidated by her. They get into an argument and she decides enough is enough. Husband leaves. A week later she's sleeping, and awakens to her husband stabbing her multiple times in the neck. Figures if I can't have her no one can. Their daughter runs into the rooms and screams, startling the husband. The husband leaves the house. One of her sons runs into the rooms and applies pressure on the wound, calls 911, saving her life. The husband walks to THR police station and tells them he murdered his wife, not knowing she actually lived. He's currently in jail, awaiting sentencing. My cousin, still in therapy, is doing well and trying to move past her trauma. You/Naive Cicada 6644 responded. Well, this happened to me. My ex I guess was seeing another girl behind my back, but me and him lived together. Guess she wanted him to leave me so they could actually be together. Well, instead of just breaking up with me, we go out to a bar one night and he roughies me. While we are there I got kicked out when I started walking funny. We made it to a gas station and I collapsed. He called 911 and put a weed pipe in my purse. I got arrested for public intox, after waking up from a coma caused by being roughed and possession of a paraphernalia for the pipe. Did a couple weeks in jail. He moved in with that other girl and, a week or 2 later collapsed on the floor and died. His liver and kidneys were shit from drinking. He was 29L, got out of jail the day he died. That was the craziest breakup LVE ever had or ever heard of, LOL. Thanks for watching, everyone. Like and subscribe for more videos like this one. If you enjoyed this video and want to dive even deeper into our community, consider becoming a channel member. Members get exclusive perks like early access to videos, custom emojis, shoutouts, etc. And it's a great way to support the channel so I can keep bringing you the content you love.